welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for November, because it's almost the end of the year. I can't believe it's almost the end of the year. It's just, time is just like flowing in, and time's flowing in so quickly that sometimes you say to somebody, like, say back in April, do you want to come on the show? And they say yeah. And then scheduling and stuff happens, and then you say, oh, let's organise coming back on the show again. And the next thing you know, it's November. It's just like, whoa. So joining me today or tomorrow or yesterday, he's from Meet Me at the Table Games. His name is Joshua McMurray. He's here to talk about his Kickstarter, which is launching on the 1st of December. It's Monster Mania. It's Joshua McMurray. Say hello, Joshua.
Hello, everyone.
Yay! Everybody goes crazy, or applauds and stuff. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm
Fantastic.
Good. I'm getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I'm excited. I get excited about Christmas. I think you're allowed to get excited about Christmas. You got to get excited about something nowadays. So I like to get excited about Christmas. But I suppose we should say hello to everybody who's out there and just let them know that the reason that we do this is because we're through episode 200, and it's moved on from a hobby to a gentle addiction, and I just can't be stopped, and I really need to just, I don't know, intervention or something like that, as people would say. And the other reason that we do this is because people like Joshua are releasing their Kickstarter campaign, and it's always good to get somebody on and learn about what they're doing in this starting world of kicks. So, what we're going to do is, before we even chat about Monster Mania, we're going to find out a little bit more about Joshua and how he got into the hobby. So we're going to find out a little bit about, we're going to have a little peek back into the past before we have a look at the frontier of the present. And then we jump off into the mania of the future. So, with that, thank you for coming on. But do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of how you got into the hobby in the first place?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've always been a tabletop gaming fan. When I was younger, games of choice were Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, those kind of CCGs. Mm-hmm. And I do say that, yes, I still do play those games to this very day. No shame.
There's no shame.
No shame at all.
No, there's no shame. There's no shame. There's no shame. There's only shame to have if you've got, say, over 500 cards in your collection still.
Got about 1,000 or so. About 5 binders worth.
Well, you can double down on shame then.
It's all good.
I take it you still play that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes, I play with my friend Luke. We actually make it it's a weekly thing. We play about once a week. Okay. So, yeah.
Can you answer a question about Yu-Gi-Oh? And you probably can't answer the question because it's got to do with the creation of Yu-Gi-Oh! But why do they have to have several hundred zeros for all kind of like the hit points and the energy points and everything like that? Why don't they just take those zeros away? Because I'm not good at maths, and I'm not good at seeing something that's kind of like, he's got 70,000 life points. It's like, just give it 70.
I think they just try to be different, I think. Because a lot of the math is like, 5 or 50 is like the highest it goes. But I think they try to just be different. But, it does come with there's like an app you can download, a dueling calculator app that at least helps you out a little bit. If it's like, and some of the attacks are like 1,610 attack. It's like, ouch. Like, that's a lot of math. So, it's pretty rough.
It just turns into long division and multiple numbers and kind of long multiplication, and nobody liked doing long multiplication at school. Nobody liked doing that. So why you try to bring it into my hobby? Are you at the point with Yu-Gi-Oh! Now that you've played it? I take it you've played it for like a fair amount. Do you instantly kind of know the meta as soon as somebody's like laid down the first couple of cards? Do you have a good idea of potentially how things are going to play out? Is it like chess? If somebody lays down, a couple of cards, can you almost like kind of tell the way they're going to be playing it, the direction they're going to be going with it?
Yeah, I think that's the case with most CCGs, really. Anywhere, if you play, you assemble a deck a certain way. Like, my friend, he's dabbling in the vampire deck and the dark magician style of play. So I kind of know what he's trying to do. And I try to build my cards based around stopping him, and he does the same thing with with my cards too. But I also borrow his decks a lot, so playing against his strategy versus his own strategy. So,
do you go into competitions at all? Then, or do you still like rock up at those, or is that something that you don't bother with anymore?
No, we never really have done that. We've talked about going to. We have like a local game shop. V-Stock is the name of the company, and we've talked about going there. And the thing is, Luke he's also the lead playtester for my gaming company, because he's just so good at creating strategies and things of that nature.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he he helped a lot with Monster Mania as well. But yeah, we talked about that. His decks are really, really good. They could go to tournament, but I think it's just a matter of getting the time to do it, basically.
Yeah, and I suppose like nowadays, if the players you're going up against are like really, really young,
yes,
it's kind of like it's either the thing of I'm full of a room of kids, or I'm going to get beaten by a kid, or
pretty much,
that kind of thing. But then it seems to just be one of these games that's kind of perpetual. It is almost like kind of like the Magic type thing. As I know you'll get games that'll kind of like come along. I saw like the My Little Pony deck builder game for a while. I don't know if it's still out there, but I seen it kind of prominent for a while, and then it kind of disappeared. But you even go into bookshops nowadays, and Yu-Gi-Oh's always there, Pokemon's always there, and Magic's always there as well. I've actually starting to see Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon in the local kind of supermarket as well. So, are cards your bag then? Is that where you'll kind of go if you're sitting down at, say, like the local games club, and somebody says you want to play a game? Are you more likely to say, yeah, let's bring it on, if they bring, like, say, Ashes, Rise of the Phoenix Born to the table or something like that? Are you more likely to say, oh yeah, this is me, count me in? Do you go for the kind of the card genre? I mean, have you played like Star Wars Destiny or anything along those lines at all?
So yes, on the cards, very big into cards. The miniatures, not so much. I know that's a pretty popular thing and all that. But yeah, mostly cards, deck builders. Dominion is a big one that I have played a lot. That's a deck building card game that I really enjoy. Trying to think if there's any other. Smash Up is another. Like, I don't know if you played that, but you take like the two factions and you combine them, try to build the strategies based around the cards that you're dealt. So things of that nature. But I'm gung ho to play any game. It doesn't matter what it is, really. I mean, if someone has a game, they're like, Josh, you want to play this game? I say, well, of course. Yeah. Do you have quite a decent collection of them? Well, decent. That's what I'm going to say. No, actually, Richard, I have a terrible collection. I collect all the rubbish games. Right. But do you have a decent size collection? I mean, you're a guy that's got shelves, and I know you've got binders. I mean, collecting, I was like, I don't know. I've got I fell into the Star Wars Destiny trap, but that's only because I have really, really wonderful friends that what they'll do is they'll go out and buy lots and lots of booster packs, and then they'll just say, here's a pile of booster packs and here's a pile of dice. And then I'm looking at kind of like my card collection. My card collection would probably quite easily fit in a small cardboard box, whereas my board game collection fit in about 15 boxes when we were kind of moving house. But do you stick with the card games as far as your collection goes, or are you kind of like a miniatures fan? Have you got like Scythe on the table? I mean, Scythe on the shelf and things like that at all? I have a pretty decent collection. I've seen people's collections. They're just massive. But I mean, I have a decent amount. I mean, I have Forbidden Island, those kind of, Forbidden Desert. Go back Monopoly. I'm not a huge fan of that game, but Monopoly and things of that nature. But yeah, I've seen people's collections that are just massive. Whenever I started, designing my own games and trying to build towards my own company, I stopped acquiring them because Kickstarter can be very, it's really
it can
easy
be very,
to get lost.
It could just be, it's like, what did you do with your money, Kickstarter? And folks just say, okay, I get you.
Yep.
I know where you're coming from with this, but
explaining that to the wife is kind of hard.
Exactly. It's like, what have you been buying this month? Technically, I actually didn't buy that this month.
Yeah, I pledged on it last month. It just got taken out.
Technically, that's actually in the previous financial year.
Yeah, exactly.
if we're being brutally honest here, I can, put my hands up and say that they've sent me this after some time. Kind of thing. And it's like, I am not lying to you.
That is true. That has happened.
Exactly. But were you, when you were going through like the previous games that you just, you put out there, were you kind of into Kickstarter all the time? Were you a regular pledger? Did you achieve the title of super backer?
No, I was not a super backer, but I did every now and then. When something caught my eye, I did not bat an eye to put some money on it. So that's it had. I think what's the most recent thing I'm trying to think. The most recent thing I pledged on. Well, there was that ukulele and the Cracklestone graphic novel that looked really cool. That's not a game, but yeah, the most recent game I'm trying to think. I think it was a Western game, not Western Legends. It was End of the Trail, I think is what it was called.
All right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I really like Western style of games, so that was a big one for me. I was like, I have to pledge on this. So,
did you jump on Western Legends when it came out then?
I did not actually pledge on that. It came out the exact same time as Frontier on Kickstarter, so I did not pledge on that. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So Western games battling each other, and that one clearly won out, but it's okay.
Yeah, you would have had to have a word with yourself if you'd gone and backed a game. It was kind of a little bit of
that's what. I'm backing my competition. I don't know. That's
Yeah. I mean, what was the thought process, or what made you decide to kind of go down the lines of saying, actually, I am going to go ahead and start kind of creating something yourself? Because I know people that have collections of 50, 100, 150 games, but they'll never jump over the line and actually start creating something you set themselves. So kind of what made you decide that was going to be something that you were going to be doing?
Well, actually, I mean, it almost sounds like one of those stories you see in like a movie or whatever the case might be, but I was actually going through an old box of mine a while back. I mean, this was years ago, and I actually had created my own game when I think I had to be like 13 or 12 or 13, one of those ages. And I kind of just dumped it in a box, and I'm like, man, this game is actually pretty good. And then I kind of got the inspiration to, hey, I'm gonna, see if I can create another kind of thing. And I started just working on it. And next thing I know, I started taking, classes on game design and things of that nature. And it just kind of, one thing led to another. And it's like, oh, suddenly I have 2 games. And about to be third and about to be a fourth. So
what was the game? What was that game that came out of the box? What was that about?
It was a very odd mix of games that I had liked back in the day. I used to be on a chess team, so I It was a mix of chess and kind of a warring type game where you had, warriors and you had to get all the way down the line. Mm-hmm. But it was called Siege, was the name of the game. Siege with an exclamation point.
Yeah, you've got to make people aware that the siege is serious.
Yes, it is very, very serious. Yeah, and the game is actually really good and I think it would take a little bit too much to make, with the miniatures and things of that nature. And I was using a card-based system where you moved cards along the board instead of like pieces. So right. Yeah, so it was kind of interesting. It was a little bit different than what you would normally see from a gaming perspective, but it just kind of, I wanted to try and do something else, and then Frontier, shocking, actually Monster Mania came first. I had that idea first and was really building on that idea, and then Frontier was second, but Frontier was released first because the artwork was done first. So
I think you find that, though. I think sometimes then when people put together kind of their Kickstarters or their ideas for games, is sometimes like the biggest, the boldest kind of game that they put together kind of first of all, and they kind of go on all in, and then it takes a little bit of kind of reflection for them to then they start to strip stuff out, either because it just doesn't work as mechanically, or it's going to end up costing a small fortune if they end up kind of putting it out there. Which is just one of these kind of things. It's interesting that you say that actually Monster Mania was there before kind of Frontier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was that because down to the complexity of the game that kind of Frontier came out first then?
Yeah, it was mostly so the Monster Mania idea came first. I was creating that concept and doing those and coming up with the different monsters and doing all of that and kind of really putting a lot of work into that. And then I wanted to do a Western thing, and I started creating that and had people, start playtesting it and stuff. And then I had my artist quickly go, yeah, I can churn that out for you. I got the summer off, I can do that. My other artist, Taylor, she's got a full-time job, so she's looking to do that doing her artwork full-time. But I told her to take her time. I said, take your time, do what you need to do. And so basically it came down to the artwork. I don't know about the complexities of the game because Frontier is very light in comparison to Monster Mania. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that answered your question or not, but it's something of that nature.
So. But you took Frontier to Kickstarter. You took Frontier to Kickstarter kind of twice.
I did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first time I set the goal a bit high. I found a cheaper manufacturer and was able to lower the goal for people. And especially, I didn't do a lot of advertising for that. I was still kind of new to the whole thing. And with Monster Mania, I've been making sure that all the advertising is good. I have the Facebook event that's up. We've got about 450 people interested or going to the day one launch and things of that nature. So, Frontier was definitely a learning experience, and I do have this the expansion coming out that'll be later in 2019. So for that game,
okay. When you got when Frontier funded and was also kind of printed on its way, did you have enough copies then to kind of keep some and put them kind of into retail, or did you just kind of fulfill? Because normally if you do a print run, there's usually like a minimum print run of like, say, like 1,000, kind of like 1,000 units or 500 units. So did you end up with kind of copies back in reserve that you could then take to retail?
Yes. So what I ended up doing, it was kind of an interesting process. I was kind of stubborn. I kind of did it so I did all the shipping myself. I boxed them all up, did all of that. And then it was pretty rough. And the extra copies, I have quite a few of them still. I've been selling them. I have my website, my Frontier website. but I also was able to get them into a couple stores in Eureka, Missouri, which is where I'm from, and kind of local, and the sales have been pretty good for those. So I think they like the local game designers and things of that nature. And I'm still kind of going to people and saying, hey, would you like to put this in stores, and kind of getting out of my comfort zone to go meet with those people and do that. So,
see, when you've done the kind of the retail side of things, is it just been like a sale or return kind of business, or do you actually get them to buy the product off you? I mean, was that the kind of the agreement that you went to, or? I mean, it must have been, to kind of get that kind of set up.
To have the retailers buy it off of me? Yeah, I think, I gotta admit, I didn't have like I don't know what you'd call that, but like a stretch plan for that. I kind of was like, I'll sell these myself. I'll go to the retailers. I'll do that. Because I didn't really have like a retail pledge option on Frontier, which I wish I would have. And there actually is one on Monster Mania now for that exact reason. But but basically, I mean, the end goal was to get those into stores some way. And I'm doing that now, but I've also teamed up. I think I was telling you before we actually started recording that I teamed up with Miniature Market, and they're going to actually have copies of Monster Mania, like on their website and their stores, things of that nature. So
yeah. Is that part of the kind of the overall strategy to make sure you've actually got some kind of retail tail kind of afterwards to make sure that the game isn't just one of these things where it gets printed, it goes out to the backers, and then that's it. You've done. You're finished. There's nothing else that kind of follows up.
No, 100%. You have to plan for the future of the game. There's no question about it. You have to put. There's so many other things that go into that, but yeah, that's one like huge thing. Yeah, you have to have that in order. If you don't, it's going to be rough for you because you're going to be selling them yourself, which. Then you have to pay for the advertising for yourself, and it's just a whole other. It's super expensive to do it the other way. So,
was there stuff that what lessons did you think you learned from running the Frontier campaign that you've had to put into kind of that you've decided to put in to kind of Monster Mania? Was there any particular kind of ideas, kind of practices, any methods that you've made sure that you've brought into the Monster Mania campaign?
Oh yeah, plenty. Yeah, without going into like a lot of the boring details, but it's mostly planning for you have to plan for everything. You have to plan for I had Frontier funded, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is very exciting. And I did not account for the overseas tax tariff that hits you when you order products out of the country. I wasn't prepared for some of the shipping costs. I didn't realize that a lot of the international backers that had pledged on Frontier, I'm not going to say stupidly, I'm just going to say I did not think things through 100%, but yeah, the international shipping torched me big time. So but yeah, I had to. Yeah, I've definitely planned for more. So in the pledge number, you have to basically plan for everything. So when you're charging $35 or $50, all of that money is going somewhere. It's not all profit. So it's all going somewhere. So
yeah, no, I think the whole e-commerce model of offering free shipping has given the wrong message to people that think that posting something doesn't actually cost anything. That if somebody says, "Well, why are you charging for shipping?" It's like, because it costs money to stick a box in a truck and send it to an airport and have it flying to another country. These things just don't happen, no matter what certain large multinational e-commerce organizations kind of tell you. And I think there's been I still see it on Kickstarter campaigns that you can't win if you put shipping on up front and say, okay, it's $20 to ship. You get people saying, but $20, that's outrageous. And it's like, okay, tell you what, mate, get in a taxi or an Uber and tell them to take you somewhere for $20 and see how far you kind of get.
Oh, I know.
Kind of thing. On the other side of it, I see people, the popular thing where people are charging for, they're charging for shipping after the campaign in the Pledge Manager, and they're getting kind of like just as much flack as well. And it's kind of like, well, when people are getting when you got your money transferred through from Kickstarter for Frontier, you wouldn't have got the whole amount. You get kind of whatever Kickstarter takes off you, and you get a reasonable amount, don't you? You get they take a chunk of change when you get the money coming through, which is again is something else that you've got to kind of like take into account, isn't it?
Yes. So they again, like I can tell you exactly everything that goes into it. I mean, Kickstarter takes 5% of the overall funding goal. So so for Monster Mania, the goal is a lot higher. It's 29,000, and so they're going to take 5% of that right off the top, and then you're going to have all of your manufacturing costs, whatever that case might be, and again the shipping, which luckily since I'm going through a fulfillment service, it's going to be a little bit cheaper. I can offer a little cheaper shipping for people, especially internationally. So that part is nice. But yeah, just a tip for anyone who is looking to start a Kickstarter. In that pledge goal, you have to put in for everything, including you have to just deduct from the manufacturing costs, from all of those costs, and that is the rest of that number. That's what you are using for everything else. So yeah.
So you got your tax, you've got anything, any kind of other additional fees that might kind of crop up, replacements,
yes,
and
absolutely.
even kind of like costing for shipping out replacements to people, or costing to shipping out to people whose stuff kind of went missing and stuff like that, kind of as well. You got to take that kind of into account. Did they not warn you that you'd have to be? Because I know that like when you press the button on a Kickstarter campaign, it just says, "Okay, you're ready to go. This is exciting, isn't it? Let's press the button." I think there should be another screen that says, Kickstarter asks, "Are you really sure? Have you checked the following 15 points before you press the go button?" kind of thing.
Now they do actually. They do that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
so for Frontier, what happened was I submitted it, and it has to be submitted for review. So whether or not it passes that instantaneous review process, it depends on a lot of factors. I've done a lot of research on it. But yeah, both Frontier launches did not immediately get approved, and so that should have been a red flag for me right away, because they found something wrong with it, but they still let it go because there was nothing illegal on there or anything. But with Monster Mania, I've already actually had it submitted for review because I'm trying to launch it at a specific time and date, so I need to make sure that it's ready to go. They actually they approved it instantaneously, so I'm thinking that's a good sign. So,
is that also down to the fact that you've kind of like ran a campaign before? I think they want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah. Yes. That has something to do with it. I also have heard other creators who have created multiple projects still be flagged for review. So the thing is like they look at it, they probably saw everything looks good, you have everything figured out, you're ready to launch whenever you want, kind of thing. So
okay. So where are you in the fulfillment process for Frontier? Is that gone? Is that all been sent out? Have people now sitting there and kind of playing this now?
Yes. So all those copies were sent out actually a while ago. I shipped them out within a month of getting the copies. So back in February, I think it was. I did all the like I said, I did all the shipping myself. Everyone was satisfied. Everyone got their products. We only had 63 backers, but we had enough where the game was funded. We're expecting a lot more for Monster Mania, just in terms of the overall goal. So,
yeah, okay. And then, kind of going forward, have you approached kind of like the marketing differently for Monster Mania in terms of, say, like, you know, generating the noise, generating previews and stuff like that?
Yes. So all of that, I wish I had planned for with the Frontier campaign. That's another thing. Sometimes you have to pre-plan if you know you're going to be releasing another game. Some of those costs could go into the next project, or the profits, I should say. And basically I used whatever was left to do sending out previews, preview copies, prototype copies. I got about 13 or 14 that have been sent out. So, I mean, that's pretty good number. It's good reach there. And then, you know, all the advertising I've done on Facebook and Instagram, and I have, like I said, the day one Monster Mania Kickstarter launch page. So that's all up in the air, and getting people to be in one central location. So when you launch that project, everyone knows immediately that it's launched. Yeah, which is nice. It's a good thing to have. Yeah.
Is there, I mean, going back to kind of like costs, you know, unexpected costs and things like that, I'm obviously getting the previews together, getting the actual kind of copies together. Was that kind of like, that must have been a hefty expense to go through in order to get them kind of together?
Yes, you are 100% correct. You know, you can make it cheaper depending on depending on the size of the game, but prototype copies are really expensive. I mean, for one prototype copy of Monster Mania, it's about $70, and that includes shipping to some locations. Yeah, so you can do the math there. 70 times about 13, 14 reviewers. That adds up. Yeah, it left me pretty broke for a little bit, but it was, you know, it's worth it because I believe in the project. So,
do you have to like assure the quality of the preview? Did you go through some kind of vetting process before you handed out the previews to people? Did you make sure that they had, you know, obviously active channels, that they were fairly active in terms of content and things like that?
Yes, absolutely. The people that I've reached out to, including yourself, I did a lot of research on, like Unfiltered Gamer, what's the other one? Board Game Capital, Geeky Hobbies, a couple of those, like, smaller ones, and then there's a few bigger ones like the Undead Viking videos and Getting Geeky with Game Relief, things of those nature. But yeah, I did a bunch of research on those guys, and also the nice thing is that some of them reviewed Frontier. So it was good to be able to reach out to them again and be like, hey, I already have your information. I know that you're going to give me a good or not give me a good review. Sorry. We don't pay for good reviews. And and this is an honest thing. If you look on, what's the name of that? It's a Canadian company reviewed Frontier. They hated it. I sent them 4 copies of Frontier, and they absolutely hated it. They gave me a 2 out of 10. I was crushed. But no, we don't pay for good reviews. I just want to put that out there. But no,
I've got you on tape.
Yeah. I want to make sure that's not misconstrued. Yeah.
Me getting the previews was a really expensive business, especially putting together those bags of money in the non-sequential used bills and trying to find a decent brown paper bag to put them in. There you go. Collusion and corruption. I mean, confirmed completely.
Yeah. But, you know, it's the thing is also is like those guys, you know, I trusted them because, again, they actually did review the game. You know, I didn't just send them a copy and they never got back to me, you know. So you definitely have to reach out to them and make sure that they have the time, number one, and they are willing to do, because some of them do charge for like to make videos. Like if they like the game, you pay them to create a video for your game. Again, you're not paying for a good review. You're paying for, if they don't like it, they won't accept the money. So that's the nice thing. So
yeah. I mean, is it? Yeah, I mean that's a whole conversation about people that are providing noise and getting kind of review copies for games and everything like that. I mean, it was something that hit the video game industry a little while ago, and the board game industry still being kind of in its critical infancy in terms of how people are critiquing things. It's kind of interesting to see how things are kind of like growing as time goes on. But again, that's a lot of money to be sending out in order to get people kind of interested in generating noise for the game again. It's like one of these budgets where you can't just have an idea on Kickstarter anymore. You've almost got to have capital to invest in getting your idea out there, which is a strange thing as far as kind of the original idea of kind of Kickstarter.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely has evolved. It's and you're competing with all these bigger companies that have huge budgets that can just mow right over you. Like if your idea isn't good enough, the graphics aren't good. I just saw one. It was Welcome to the Jungle. It was on Kickstarter, and the graphics look great. The artwork is fantastic, and just for some reason the game just did not fund. And I was trying to figure out why, because it's a great looking product, and I think it relied somewhat on their advertising and somewhat they didn't have very many reviews. And I think people look at those reviews, they want to know that someone else has played, and they want to know that, hey, this product is trusted. So I think that comes from that too. So
no, it's familiar faces. Do you know what I mean? It is that all around me are familiar faces. Oh, look, they've reviewed this game. They've reviewed this game as well, and you kind of see kind of names. As a Kickstarter creator, would you put a preview on your game that was critical of certain aspects of the game, or would you put it to one side? Do you think that is that's kind of like putting you? I guess it's putting you on the spot again. But say if somebody came back to you and said, "Well, listen, this is all these parts are a bit of fun, but I really don't like this bit of the game." Would you not then put that preview on the Kickstarter, or would you just put a quote on there as well?
Well, that's the thing. So for Monster Mania, I had a review just come in. It was about a week ago, and it's on the preview link that I actually had sent you. And they only gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and they had some complaints, but some very justified complaint. Like, they had reasons to believe that is the case, and I still put it on there because it's it's a review that highlights the good of the game and the bad of the game. Now, if a review outright is just, it says this game is awful and terrible, I mean, that's a tough thing. That's up to the creator at that point. Luckily for Frontier, I didn't have to worry about that because the review was actually after the Kickstarter was posted. So I was just trying to get, generate reviews to help, sales of the game so people could see it more, do giveaways and things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, that review company they just hated the game. So I can't stress enough, like, you can look it up. I actually urge people to look it up because that's a great way to take criticism. You have to be willing, you have to have a strong mindset, definitely, to be in this field. So
yeah, especially if it's something you've taken hours over.
Yes.
And hours and weeks and months of your life.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Yep. And that was Frontier. That was about 2.5 years, the creation process of that, about 2.5 years of that game. So
yeah. And then something just goes, I don't like it. I don't like this. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like he's got his second name's McMurray. I don't like the name of his company. Yeah. I saw his shoes. I don't like his shoes. Don't buy this. And you're just like that. Oh, thanks. Thank you for that.
I mean,
thank you for that lack of validation.
It does hurt you too. It can. You know, I don't know. I think again it depends, and that's another thing. I don't want to call out reviewers, but a lot of them, they won't post bad reviews unless you urge them to. Like if you want the press, regardless, they will post it. So I kind of I told those guys, yeah, go ahead and post it anyways, because it's fine. Like I have a thick skin. That's fine. You guys didn't like it. That's fair. So,
Yeah.
So it just depends, really.
Let's embrace the mania.
Yes.
Tell me about Monster Mania. Tell me about what's the message? How do you play it? Is there mania, or is it actually just a kind of gentle affair, and you've just used Monster Mania in order to make it kind of really exciting?
There's a lot of mania. Don't get me wrong. I can definitely simplify it. Basically, you're going to play the role of giant monsters. Think, Rampage, Godzilla, King Kong, things of those natures. And essentially, the gameplay, it's very strategic. I've been told that it's a mix of tactical and strategy. So kind of you have to play based on the cards that you do. But basically, the idea is to gain resources for each monster's attack. You can also throw buildings at other monsters and throw taxi cabs at them and deal damage to them in that way as well. There's also solo mode, co-op. We're adding a deck building variant and a card drafting variant into the game. There's a lot of game modes, a lot of gameplay to be had. But basically, the end-all goal, defeat 5 of your opponent's monsters. So just get them down to 0, get your prize points, and then you are the winner. That's the main idea of the game.
That sounds quite pedestrian. I mean, there's no mania. I'm not hearing. I'm only joking. I mean, what was it? I mean, in terms of playtesting, have you done... I take it you had to playtest this for ever and a day in order to get kind of it balanced and kind of working and stuff like that, yeah? Yeah,
100%. And going back to my friend Luke, who was also, like I said, the lead playtester of the company, he spent hours and hours playing. We've spent hours and hours playing. I mean, it's quite a few, up to the hundreds easily. Just between me and him. That doesn't include everyone else. We've taken it to conventions. We've taken it to, things of that nature. But yeah, creating the game, I had to definitely figure out the numbers and the one reviewer said that there are a few overpowered cards, and I would agree with that. But what's a little, have some fun with it. You might as well have a couple overpowered cards, So, I mean, why not, So, that's what I think about it.
Do you need to take kind of some of the feedback? Because there's two ways to deal with feedback. One of them is you deal with feedback and you kind of make the changes every single time you get feedback. And then you're in danger of losing the original vision of the game. Do you sometimes do you take them more as kind of here's a suggestion and let's go through the suggestions and see that it works? Because one person could give you feedback on something, and yet they could be the only person that had an issue with it. Whereas everybody else who's played it so far have actually found it kind of really, really easy to kind of work with, yeah.
Yes, that is one of the toughest things is, 100%. I'm trying to think of an exact situation. I had taken it to a convention. Well, Frontier, first of all, I want to say that I learned from that. I had reviewers, and that's the thing. Whenever they give me very constructive feedback, I do take that and I do listen. One of the feedback things was, Frontier didn't have an instruction card, and at the time I was like, why does it need an instruction card? But then once I made one for Monster Mania, it made all the sense in the world to have an instruction card, and all the reviewers that have commented on the instruction card, they say, oh, that's great that you have that. That's amazing. That's really, really helpful. And the play mats, that was another thing. They said Frontier should have a playmat. Monster Mania has 6 playmats because it supports 6 players. Yeah. So so you got to take it. Depends what kind of. I went to a convention and the guy had said something about adding a 4th spot to the combat zone, which is in the Monster Mania game, and adding a certain thing and those kind of things. And it just I don't think he fully understands the mechanics and how and why I chose 3 instead of 4 or 5 or whatever the case might be. Yeah. So it's kind of up in the air on that sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think in terms of the play cards, I've seen them kind of happen more and more. I think Root, ding, that's me mentioned Root again for this episode. Root has those type of cards. I was playing a game, Ravage Dungeons of Plunder, and it had kind of cards in there which were like just a reference card of this is your turn. And this is what you're expected to do. And it was amazing how easier it made it to learn the game because you were given kind of hints, reminders of what you were meant to be doing, instead of having to go back through the rules and kind of learn kind of every single thing that was kind of going on, or find that bit in the rules in order to kind of reference it.
Yes, 100%. Those are just all future games of mine will have instruction cards because of that reason. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You got to learn though. That's what it is. You got to learn.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's difficult because there's so many games coming out nowadays, and so many games are doing it are basically looking for the differentiator. And so sometimes they'll maybe miss stuff out that you would say, well, actually, that would make an awful lot of sense to me, or that would make things like, easier. That would make it more straightforward for us to be able to kind of, to be able to play the game as well. What, in terms of the components, I mean, how many components are you looking at? I mean, you mentioned obviously that you kind of like playmats. Mm-hmm. But when you open the box, what could you expect to find when you kind of break open your copy of Monster Mania?
Absolutely. There's 216 cards, 6 instruction cards, so 210 regular playing cards for the game. There's 142 tokens. That equates to about 4 or 5 punch boards that you're going to get in the finalized copy. You got a 40-page rulebook, which includes the solo mode objectives, the co-op, and there's like a bunch of extra stuff in there. There's also like challenges, almost like you said you play PlayStation, kind of like the trophies. There's challenges in this game where once you complete them, you can check them off and kind of, and do them like in the rulebook. It's kind of cool. And then there's also, like I said, the 6 play mats. But yeah, that's what you're getting in Monster Mania.
Okay. And what's the price of entry on the door? What are you going to have to pay in order to kind of be part of the party? Yeah.
So, well, as far as the Kickstarter pledges go, it's the $50 is going to get you the standard pledge, and that's actually free domestic shipping. So all US is getting free shipping on that. And then there's the $99 one, which is going to get you the comic book series, the Monster Mania Origins comic book series, and the Art of Monster Mania hardcover book. We're doing that as well. So you'll get those two, $99, same deal with the shipping. You get free U.S. shipping, and then international, still working out the details of the shipping on that, but it shouldn't be too bad for those. So,
the comic book, I mean, what made you decide to kind of bring that in as part of the offer?
I am a huge comic book fan. As far as DC Comics, Marvel, I love superheroes. I love, and not just superheroes. I have Godzilla comics, graphic novels, just a whole bunch of different things. I think that's people really like comics, and they're affordable. So they're not like, these big bloated items. They're going to be like legitimate, like comic book type things, like what you'd see in like a store. So,
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Are you going to get? I mean, when you're getting printed them, are they going to be printed as per the pledge level, or do you again have to get a minimum number kind of printed?
No, that comes with it, and I have actually adjusted for that in the overall pledge level. So we don't have to reach a specific goal or anything like that. You just you just get it as part of the $99 thing. I'm actually also I had been talking to my friend Luke about introducing also a strategy guide into the game, kind of like you see those old retro PlayStation, Nintendo 64 strategy guides, just a small one. There's a lot of stuff in this game. So if people want kind of be taken back to the old school a little bit, we might add that as like a after the fact pledge add-on that you can add on to your initial goal. So
I mean, that's what people are looking for. I mean, I guess if you're going to be running the campaign, it's looking at something that will differentiate it from other things. And if people are going to be involved in buying into, I guess, a world, the more kind of lore that you have. I mean, it's the same with any kind of game. I mean, as they get more and more into a game, they want to look for their motivation for kind of playing the game. And I've seen that where people have, here's the mechanics, this is how you play it. And it's like, well, this is really, really good, but I'm not really understanding why I'm playing this game as I go on. What's the reasons? I know, if by simply winning, that's fantastic. But is there a reason as to why I'm kind of fighting this person, or I need to do this, or I need to protect this thing, or I need to drive these people out or own this kind of territory type of thing? It's kind of, it makes kind of things, it kind of adds a reason for somebody to kind of continue to play as they kind of go on.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And that's another thing too that we're adding into the game. Well, it's not in the prototype rulebook, but it's going to be in the finalized rulebook, is basically a story mode where you are a certain monster and you're given specific things to do, and you have to defeat certain monsters, and it's almost like you go through the whole story, and we're also talking about including a Kickstarter exclusive like PDF for those as well. Like there's actually quite a few rewards with that. There's also a soundtrack too, so that's pretty interesting.
Who made the soundtrack? Was that you, or was that someone else?
That was me. Yeah, I'm also a composer as a hobby. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's kind of throwing that in there.
You're kind of going all out, aren't you?
Yes, really? I really am. I'm trying to get people, bang for their buck. I mean, that's kind of the whole idea. You pledge on Kickstarter. You believe in my project. I'm going to give you everything that I can give you, in return. So that's yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's what it should be. So,
when you're launching, what's the date? Have you firmed that up yet? When can we get the Monsters Mania?
Yes. Yes. December 1st is the launch date. We haven't really finalized the time yet. It's going to be between noon and 5 p.m. As the launch date. So. Or it's the launch time, I should say. So, yeah. So that's what we're looking at.
Is it exciting? Are you going to be less nervous because this will be like the second time that you've done this before? Are you?
It does not reduce my nervousness at all. No, I am still very, very nervous. We're still going to be going up against quite a few other projects that are launching at the same time, and we're also doing like the demo plays, which I think that's going to help, getting people to play the game and kind of them actually seeing it face like a real tangible product. They might be, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. I like this idea. So. But yeah, no, I'm still very nervous. But I think that comes with it. It's just jitters.
Just part of the territory.
Yeah.
Just part of the territory.
Absolutely.
And if people have listened tonight and they want to kind of keep an eye on what you're up to, where do you exist on the interweb nets?
No, absolutely. That would be our website. You can go to www.monstermaniagame.com. You can also find us on Facebook under Meet Me at the Table Games, just flat out Meet Me at the Table Games. And you can actually find our event page on there, and you can just click if you're interested or going to the day one launch. Kind of getting a head count is ideal whenever you're launching a Kickstarter. And then you can also find it. We have a whole bunch. We have Twitter, SoundCloud. We're all over the place. If you type in "Meet Me at the Table Games," you'll find us. So yeah,
cool. Well, what we'll do, as always, is we will put this into the show notes, so we have notes to show. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, go to the Twitter, search for We're Not Wizards, you'll find us there. Go to Facebook, search for We're Not Wizards, you guess what? Find us there. We're on YouTube, We're Not Wizards Tabletop Podcast. We're on Instagram at We're Not Wizards. We're on Tumblr, We're Not Wizards, don't ask me why, but we appear to be there. We've got our website, which is we'renotwizards.com. We've got our blog, which is we'renotwizards.blogspot.com. You can email us, which is magic@we'renotwizards.com. I'm aware of the irony of the email address, that's why I picked it. You can find us on all the normal podcast catchers, your Stitcher, Spreaker, Acast, Castbox, anywhere. Spotify as well, because I don't know why they let us on. If you like what you've listened to and you get us on Stitcher, leave us a review on Stitcher. We have a review on Stitcher. I have no idea how we got a review on Stitcher, but thank you very, very much. If you want to drop us a subscription on Apple Podcasts, that would be fantastic. If you want to go one further and make us love you even more, then drop us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. And as we say, don't give us a 10 because it makes us big-headed. But don't give us a 1 because it makes us cry. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average. And we're a little bit average. But the person who's not been average tonight is the rather wonderful, the rather fantastic. We met at the table. And he brought his Mania. And he brought his monster.
Yes.
It's the one, the only Joshua McMurray. Thank you very, very much for coming on, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
There's only 3 more things to do. The first thing is to say that we have had an abundance of entries to the Swordcrafter competition. So we're going to be picking the winner for the Swordcrafter competition in about a week's time. And then you'll get your copy of Swordcrafter the game from Adam's Apple Games, which I was playing yesterday with my son, and it's a lot of fun. It's just building a huge sword out of cardboard. I don't think you can get anything better than that, apart from maybe a bit of Monster Mania, obviously. The next thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Joshua?
No, you are not. That is very clear.
And you? And you, Joshua?
I guess I'm not a wizard either.
Oh, right, okay, that's fine. I don't believe you at all. And the next thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from the rather wonderful, rather fantastic Joshua. Say goodbye, Joshua.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you again.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll6s.com. And I don't think there's a better way to start celebrating the beginning of the Advent season for Christmas than jumping onto Kickstarter and checking out a game about monsters fighting each other using cards. I don't think the Christmas message could be any stronger. So check out the link. We'll put it in the show notes. Have a look. If you like what you see, give it a back. But until the next time, goodbye.
wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.